Hey everyone, this is Joe from Joe&ZO podcast, and let's talk some cards. Pull up a chair. We got a whole bunch of TTM successes today to talk about. Let's get right into it. Alright, the first one is from Phoenix, Arizona, and it is Mr. Craig Parket. He signed 2 of 2 in 16 days. He played from 1993 to 2003. He was primarily a third baseman, but played a little bit of outfield and first base during his career. He played with the A's, as you can see over here, Major League debut with the A's, the Royals, the Mets, the Cardinals, and the Tigers. His career numbers, not great. Negative 1.6 WAR, 239 average, 99 homers, 377 RBIs, and a 685 OPS. Let me try to just get some centering for you guys. Sorry about that. And maybe I'll just put them down for now. He was originally drafted in the 36th round in 1987, but ended up going to college and then was drafted 2 years later in '89 in the 8th round by the A's. His best season, I guess you could say, even though he's primarily a bench player, so he didn't have a full season of numbers, but his best season would have been in 2001 with St. Louis, where he was their primary pinch hitter, and he hit 282 with 15 homers and 64 RBIs. I found a great article about him on the Cardinals SB Nation blog, which I'm going to link, put the link in the description of this video. Basically, it seems that he was a career bench player who was good enough to stay in the majors, and stayed there for a while, 10 years. But more than that, that was his role. So that's Mr. Craig Parket, and thank you very much for the quick return and the nice signatures. All right, the next one is from North Houston in Texas, and it is Mr. Pat Listash. Let's get that up there. Yeah, this autograph came back a little smudged. I'm not sure why. It may have been raining that day, and that card got the brunt of it. Not totally sure. I actually sent in 3 cards, and I told him I had doubles of this card, and I told him that he could keep it, and he did. So officially, he signed 2 of 3 in 16 days. He played from 1992 to 1997. He was a shortstop with the Brewers and the Astros. He was drafted in 1987 in the 23rd round out of community college, but decided to go back to a full-term college, but then he left after 1 year in 1988, and he was drafted in the 5th round by Milwaukee. His career numbers, decent: 4.4 WAR, a 251 average, 5 homers, 143 RBIs, so not much of a run producer, 626 OPS, and 116 stolen bases. His best season was his rookie year, where he won the Rookie of the Year in the American League and actually finished 18th in MVP voting. Very solid season. This was in 1992. He hit 290 with 1 homer, 47 RBIs, but he also had 6 triples and 54 stolen bases. So not much of a run producer, but definitely someone who got on base and made things happen when he was there. You can notice he started off very successful, but then had a very short career, and the reason for that was he was traded to, there was a story that goes like this. He was with the Brewers. At the beginning of the 96 season, he was traded to the Yankees, but funny story, he had fouled the ball off his foot a couple days beforehand. They assumed it was a bruise, but when he went to the Yankees and they did a medical checkup, it turns out his foot was broken. So they returned him to the Brewers, and he never fully recovered from that. 96 was his last season in Milwaukee. He spent 97 with the Astros, and then he retired after that at the age of 29. He went into coaching. He was a minor league manager in the Cubs system for many years at the various levels. He became a bench coach and a base coach at different teams in the major leagues, and he currently manages in the Mexican Baseball League. And last bit of trivia, he is a member of the Brewers Wall of Fame, which is their team Hall of Fame. So definitely someone who has a place in Brewers history. And sadly, we did not see him live out his full potential career because of that injury. But thank you, Mr. Listash. And let's move on. The next one is one that I was very excited about when I got it. It comes from San Diego, California, and it's Mr. Charles Nagy. I was very excited to get this card because he was one of the best pitchers in baseball when I was a kid, and I was actually pretty surprised when I saw his career numbers, which his win-loss and ERA records are not spectacular, especially for the amount of time that he played in the league. But they're very solid, obviously, and he had a bunch of really good individual seasons. So let's get into him before I get too excited about it. So again, Charles Nagy, he signed 1 of 1 in 11 days. He played from 1990 to 2003. He was a pitcher with the Indians, and 1 or 2 seasons at the end with the Padres, but primarily with the Indians. He was drafted 17th overall by Cleveland. His career numbers: a 24.8 WAR. He was 129 and 105, a 4.51 ERA, and a 1.41 WHIP. He was a 3-time All-Star, and he finished in the top 10 of the Cy Young voting 3 times, including once in the top 5. He was the ace for those really good Cleveland teams in the 1990s that went to the World Series twice, lost both times, but he was their ace the entire time. There are several options to pick for a best season. The best options are 92 and 96. I went with 1992, where he went 17 and 10 with a 2.96 ERA. He was 4th in innings pitched. He was 8th in strikeouts, and he actually had 10 complete games, which was 4th in the majors. So it's kind of crazy that nowadays you would never see that. And he had 10 complete games. That was only 4th. And those out of those 10 complete games, he had 3 shutouts. End of his career, he probably could have lasted a few more years, but he had an injury late in his career, and it seems that he made the decision to retire in 2003 from that. Couple bits of trivia. He was a member of Team USA that won gold at the '88 Olympics, but it seems that baseball wasn't an official sport at the '88 Olympics, so the medal didn't really count, but Team USA did win, and he was on that team. Second bit of trivia, in the 1992 All-Star Game, the AL was using a DH, but they ran out of hitters, and he had to bat, and he actually got a hit. So he is the last pitcher to get a hit in an All-Star Game in 1992, and since the pitchers hitting does not happen anymore at All-Star Games, there's an automatic DH regardless of the ballpark or the team, so he might be for a while the last pitcher to get a hit in an All-Star Game. And his third bit of trivia is that in Game 7 of the '97 World Series, so famously Jose Mesa blew the save for the Indians, Nagy came in and he had to pitch extra innings, and he officially got the loss. So that is tough for him. But yeah, you go with your ace in that situation. He is in the Indians Hall of Fame, and he actually coached for a few years, pitching coach in various teams, and he retired from coaching in 2018. And like we said, he lives in San Diego. So that's Charles Nagy. Again, a guy that I grew up watching and really loving to watch pitch, and I was very excited to get that one. All right, the next one comes from Baltimore, Maryland, and it is Mr. Rick Krivda. He signed 1 of 1 in 5 days. I did not know the mail could move that fast. And no, I am not in the same zip code as him. So yeah, very quick out of Baltimore. He was in the majors from 1995 to 1998 as a pitcher with the Orioles, Indians, and Reds. He was drafted in the 23rd round by the Orioles, so he worked hard to make the majors. His career stats, nothing spectacular. A .4 WAR, 11 and 16 record, a 5.57 ERA, and a 1.6 WHIP. He was really a spot starter. That was his role in the major leagues. If you go through his stats, I guess his best season would have been in 1996, his first year in the majors, where he went 3-5 and a 4.96 ERA. So how did he make it to the majors? is a very interesting story. He went very quickly through the minors because he was really good. His record in the minors before getting to the majors, he was 59-29 with a 3.38 ERA and 13 complete games. So in the minors, he had some really great records. In the majors, not as much. Like we said, his last major league appearance was in 1998. He continued to, let's say, toil in the minors for a few years after that, but never made it back to the major leagues. And one bit of trivia, he was on the 2000 U.S. Olympic team that won gold in Sydney. I think he made an appearance for them. So that's Mr. Rick Krivda, and thank you very much. Again, a very quick turnaround, which is always appreciated. And our last one today comes out of San Antonio, Texas. And it is Mr., I believe you pronounce it, Kashnik Brooks. He signed 1 of 1 in 16 days. He played from 1996 to 2004. He started off as an outfielder and actually converted into a pitcher, which we will discuss. He played for the Cubs, the Reds, the Rockies, and the Brewers. And similar to some of the other players I've mentioned, I only mentioned the teams that they actually play for in the major leagues. Meaning that even though he was part of a bunch of organizations, it was just those 4 teams where he actually played in the majors. And that's why you'll notice that this is a card of him on the Tampa Bay, at those time known as the Devil Rays. But I didn't mention their name because he never actually played in the majors for them. He was just in the minors. So let's talk about the Brooks Kashnik story. It is a very interesting one. He played college baseball at the University of Texas, where he was a legend. He is the only player to win National Player of the Year twice, and he was extremely successful as both a pitcher and an outfielder. He ended up being drafted in 1993 as number 10 overall by the Cubs, where they decided to make him exclusively an outfielder. His career numbers, surprisingly a 1.4 WAR, and I say surprising because the rest of his numbers are not great. I assume that the combination of his pitching and hitting helped contribute to that number, because he was able to add to it from both sides. He had a 248 average, 16 homers, 46 RBIs, and a 760 OPS. So what's his minor league story? So he came in to the Cubs system, and he was immediately ranked their number 1 prospect. And from 93, 94, 95, he was the number 1 prospect for the Cubs, even in 96 when he made his major league debut. So between 96 and 97, though, he did not put up great numbers in the majors, and the Cubs let him go unprotected in the 1998 expansion draft, where he was picked up by Tampa Bay. He never played for them. Eventually got back to the majors in 2000 and 2001 with the Reds and the Rockies, and again did not put up great numbers. At the beginning of 2002, he was in the White Sox system, did not play in the majors for them, but that was when he decided to reinvent himself mid-career and pursue pitching, which again he had been dominant as when he was in college. And in 2003-2004, he was a pitcher and a pinch hitter with the Milwaukee Brewers, and was pretty decent in that role. He had an injury in the 2004 season that stopped him from pitching, but he was still hitting. Yeah, he carved out himself a little niche thing. It was a good story. I remember at the time it was a good story because you did not really have, that was the first two-way player at that time. Nowadays we have Shohei Ohtani, but obviously Brooks Kashnik was not Shohei Ohtani, but it was still a good story at the time where you have a guy playing both ways. There really is no best season for him. He never really put up enough appearances offensively or defensively to really warrant what I would call a best season. After 05, spending 2005 in the minors, he decided to retire. One bit of trivia for him, in 2006, when the College Baseball Hall of Fame was inaugurated, he was one of 10 members of the inaugural class. So again, like I said, a college baseball legend with not as much success in the majors. I always find it interesting when you have guys who are really, really good in college and in the minors, and then for some reason it just doesn't translate to the major league level. And you have a guy like Brooks Kashnik who was supposed to be really good, and it just doesn't pan out. And you have another guy like Parket, who is decent in the minors, is not a top prospect by any means, and he carves out for himself a 10-year career. So it's just funny how, I don't know if it's sports or life or baseball in particular, but these are the reasons that I like to tell these stories about these different players, because it's just fascinating to me the different paths these guys take to the majors, and what they were supposed to be and what they ended up being, and I just think it's really cool. So anyway, those are the submissions for today. Thanks everyone for watching. Please contact us, joe&zopod@gmail.com. Please like, share, comment on this video, and please subscribe. Any questions, comment below, send us an email, and I'll have to include that article on Parket in the description of the video. Anyway, thanks for pulling up a chair with us, and we'll talk some more cards next time. Take care.